Hello, my name is Karen Wilson. I'm reading my poems on behalf of the Unitarian Universalist Dickinson Poetry Series. I've been a full-time resident of Door County since 1977, time enough to notice changes. 2020, of course, is a unique year. No one who survives it will forget it. In March, when the pandemic was rearing its ugly head, I was vacationing on a Caribbean island. I began writing my impressions as poems. So I will begin with a selection of those poems written in the early days of the pandemic. So on March 13th, I wrote a poem that I titled Uncertainty. Life's uncertainty, so seldom contemplated, now moves into full view, front, side, and center, impossible to ignore, glaringly obvious. Changes every day, more cases, new restrictions, social isolation. Panic growing faster than the spread of the disease, or so it seems. Worldwide, flights canceled, flights full, citizens trying to return to escape the virus, find safety at home, where they are likely to find empty shelves, closed schools, overflowing hospitals. On a Caribbean island, we are worrying more now about getting home than becoming ill. Will our flight be canceled? Will we be tested, quarantined? And how is our dog doing at the kennel? On March 21st, back home in Door County, hunkering down. Not even a week into it, and it's growing old, being home in self-quarantine after a spring trip out of the country. Things getting worse every day. People coming down with it, people dying, lockdowns across states and around the world. It isn't that my life is so different, being quietly at home, books to read, walks in the woods, plenty of food, though one worries about supply chains and shortages, with flour and yeast and toilet paper disappearing from shelves. So it works on the mind, vaguely unsettling, like fearing boredom in advance without the calendar being full of anticipated activities. And you can't escape the underlying fearfulness, carried in the news every day, of an uncertain future amid increasing deaths. Really, could it find me, my loved ones? On March 29th, this is the way it is. And this is the way it really is in the world. It's always been the way it really is, but hidden under a facade of people working. Now it all shows like pimples all over the clean, nice things that comprised our lives before we really knew. Deceived by our own comfort, even as we tried to correct the wrongs that always showed through. Now undeceived, now we really know. It actually doesn't work at all unless it works for all. That's just the way it really is. Democracy, April 3rd. Spring election in Wisconsin scheduled Tuesday, not postponed, despite chaos from pandemic, confusion about voting. Governor wants delay, opposing party refuses. Volunteers do hours on phone, helping folks get ballots, but it's certain that many simply will not be able to vote. While the numbers grow, our nation now highest in metrics that mark deaths and new infections. Yes, most people are staying home. With luck, the curve will smooth, but no work, no pay. We'll see how federal largesse gets through to those who truly suffer. We'll see if democracy is hijacked by the emergency in leadership, the lack of preparedness, the rush to get the economy going again. and always the willing of some to ensure their own gain, while many will see only pain. April 22nd. When this is over, could we be different? Daily walks, unpolluted skies, satisfying activities not just about making ends meet, bonds forged by full-time togetherness, refusal to play by rules that work best for the few. If we can't be different after this, could it ever be possible? April 27th, opening up. The economy and the people demand it, say the administration, some governors, legislators, and business people. More harm than COVID, they say, just from being cooped up. More harm from no paychecks, more harm to the economy that needs workers to show up, put in their time, bring back profits. Guidelines are offered to prevent new waves of infections, but they're really just suggestions. No requirement of safety for workers back on the job or later when they get sick. Some of us have a choice. We may decide not to venture out. Many others do not. Lockdown lifted. Now we're midway into May as the country slips haphazardly into new ways of living with a pandemic. It's okay to go out, but not everywhere. And do watch out for yourself because this is unknown territory. You have no guarantee of safety from infection or covering the cost if you get it. Is returning to your workplace safe? Will you go into the now open store? Eat outside at a restaurant? Have dinner with family or friends, safer at home until now? Which beach is open? Which nature trail? Who has the authority to tell you not to go? It's up to you. Good luck. Wednesday, June 3rd, I wrote, I'm not Black. So I can only imagine what it's like to expect demeaning for not being white. I don't live with the fear that my son is in danger simply by being on the street, or the pain of knowing his value is lower because he's not white. I've only seen police as protectors, friendly and courteous. I must be white. But hearts have no color, and mine breaks too for the needless death of any person by the unfettered hands of the police. And my whole being cries foul and shame at the cruel injustice done. While regardless of broken hearts, the pandemic carries on, and hard-hearted leaders who care only for power preach disunity that makes it all worse. Living in a place as beautiful and full of nature as Door County, I find that many of my poems start with a walk in the woods. I selected some that are set in the different seasons we experience here. I'll start with autumn, the season that we are currently in, written in a year previous to 2020 seasons. This was written in October. As autumn foretells the inevitable coming of winter, I feel like the leaves losing their green, loosening their hold. Without regret, they blaze forth in brilliant colors before they fall. So much I clung to in the spring of my life, such definite ideas of how things should be. Now, like the leaves, I let go of certainty. I'm shedding still until all that's left is mystery. In November of 2019, I wrote a poem that, looking at it again, I thought how many problems there were in the world before we had COVID. This poem is called Plenitude. There's an overabundance of acorns this year. Squirrels aren't even bothering with my bird feeder. And woodpeckers are sated with the larvae infecting thousands of ash trees now standing around looking naked, their bark peeled away by the hungry mob. I have an overabundance myself because I have money for groceries, a freezer to store food, and plenty of fuel for cooking. Well-fed and warm within my insulated walls and under a sturdy roof, I regard the news of the world. Consider the hardships of poverty and war. Shudder to think of the families everywhere who are hungry and unsafe. And I am grateful for my plenitude, though not at all deceived. It's pure good luck. Winter is coming soon. The winter solstice in a few weeks. And that brought forth a poem. Here, halfway between the equator and the North Pole, winter comes hard and cold. Biting winds chill the bone. Squalls of snow limit sight to a narrow perimeter. And as the heavens align in this particular way, we experience the shortest day when the sun withholds its light, and we have the longest night of the year. A time of hunkering down, staying in, sleeping long. Bare trees creak in the wind, waters frozen to stillness. Life seems in abeyance, the season ahead endless. We think spring will come, but it feels only a dream. Last New Year's Eve was the last day of a decade, and my poem is called This Winter Day. Last day of the year, end of a decade, 20 teens soon gone. Today will glide seamlessly into tomorrow, whatever name we give it. Relentlessly, the years plod or fly, overlapping circles that much later reveal distinct periods in our lives, like geological eras, each overlaying the one before, requiring search and excavation to explore. On this winter day, before the calendar turns, the details are vivid and clear. Outside my window, the bay starting to freeze. Birds at the feeders, fire on the grate, my dog lying near. March comes after a couple of long months. I walked on top of the snow today. Yesterday, it was squishy, but the night was cold, and this morning, the surface is hard, bright in the sun. As the ravens fly in celebratory circles, their eggs must have hatched in the nest of sticks on a narrow ledge below the edge of the bluff. My dog skitters about on the icy surface, slides downward on a slight slope, today not sinking in with every bound. The day lies before me. I too, transitioning from winter with starts and stops. Looking back on cold days of cozy indoor warmth, looking forward to freedom from coats and boots. I move from one shore to another, pause often at a sunny window, stir renew. And in May, Anthropocene. Walking in the woods in early May, No leaves yet on the trees, and a chilly breeze. It could be winter, except the snow is gone. But I see trout lilies peeking out, and trillium shoots creeping up through the barren ground. And I try to memorize the trees' bare bones before summer green erases my memory of the present scene. The forest and its seasons seem the same from year to year in the 4 decades I've been walking here, but you notice difference over time. Some trees grow bigger, others fall, and some birds and flowers are no longer seen as life responds to constant change, magnified now in the Anthropocene, recently defined as the new geologic age, with major impacts caused by humankind. When you've been involved in fighting for causes, for me it's mainly been the environment, but this applies to many issues. Sometimes the causes feel hopeless. You get tired of knocking your head against a wall. Lone monarch in the field, do you matter? Can you save the world by sipping nectar from these late summer flowers for life, migration, the next generation? You and I are tiny, our efforts small, insufficient in scope, yet we carry on, and this is reason for hope. So yes, nature is my inspiration, but often inspiration isn't available. For example, on a Tuesday morning at 11 a.m., inspiration is hiding. Lethargy settles in. I can't imagine how to begin, but I seem to know the remedy is words, whatever they may be. So I wander on the page looking for the key to my mind. My dog sits near in his usual way, eyes gazing blankly or closed, his body always able to unwind, his animal nature in every mood with total lack of subterfuge and immediacy of needs. His needs do not include duty or creating something of beauty or saving the world, and don't include creating order on this desk or in this room. I think I'll quit for now and take a walk with that dog, who will bound to his feet and remind me how to be even when deadlines loom. My Door County ancestry is the basis for my poem Settlers that is included in the recently published anthology of Door County poems, Halfway to the North Pole. One place the anthology is available for sale online is right on doorcounty.org and at various bookstores in the county. My poem is called Settlers. There's a grave in the cemetery at Jacksonport. Headstone no longer legible, but I traced it years ago. Anna Herbst, now so long dead, brought from the old country by her granddaughter, who earlier settled here with her husband, where they cleared the old growth forest to create a farm and raise a family whose descendants now dot Door County and the world, including me, once a far-flung twig from that early tree, now comfortably settled back among my roots. I cannot imagine the daily life of my young ancestor who came from an old civilization to a raw new place, worked alongside her husband to tame the wild land, finding it necessary to tie her little children to the porch rail for fear they would wander into the forest and be lost. Maybe it was homesickness for her family and for relief from a hard life that later, when they began to prosper, she brought her parents from Germany to live near her and also her grandma, Anna Herbst, all buried here as I will be. And to completely shift gears, I'll conclude with an ode to wine. Ode to wine. O bottle of wine, treasure of the vine, grapes grow in the hot sun, harvested when summer is done, crushed, vinified with careful skill, aged and bottled, sent into the world, there to be shared to savor and flavor food plain or fine. You, bottle of wine, elegant or humble, present at our table with family and friends, enhance appreciation of all that life brings. Thank you very much for listening.